There was a small, sun-dappled town called Maple Hollow, where the streets were lined with sugar maples and the houses wore flower boxes like jewelry. The town was peaceful, the kind of place where people rarely locked their doors, not out of negligence but out of trust. Among the oldest residents were Harold and Mabel Kirkland, a gentle couple in their late 70s. Harold, a retired schoolteacher, still read the newspaper cover to cover every morning, and Mabel, once a florist, spent her days tending to roses that bloomed like silk in their garden. They had no children of their own, and though their friends were dwindling by the year, they remained kind and generous, rooted like the trees around them. One late October evening, as the wind tugged at the last golden leaves, a stranger came knocking at their door. He looked to be in his 50s, shaggy-haired, stubbled, with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His clothes were tattered, probably pulled from a dumpster somewhere, and his eyes carried a sad kind of charisma. "Sorry to bother you," he said with a hesitant smile. "I missed the last bus and have nowhere to go. I'm not asking for much, just a warm porch to sleep on for the night." Harold and Mabel exchanged a look, the kind older couples use instead of words. Something about the man stirred their compassion. "Well," Mabel said softly, "we have a guest room. It's not fancy but it's warmer than the porch." The man introduced himself as Ted. He thanked them profusely, shook Harold's hand with both of his, and insisted he would be gone by morning, but morning came and so did excuses. "I woke up with a fever. I'd hate to carry anything contagious out there. Then the next day, turns out my wallet's missing. Must have dropped it at the diner. The day after that, just one more night, I've got a friend wiring me money." And so it went. Days blurred into weeks. Ted cleaned up well, helped with groceries once or twice, told charming stories about his supposed life as someone who had always been taken advantage of. He played the piano in the parlor, helped Mabel carry potting soil, complimented Harold's bookshelves. For a while they didn't mind that he made them laugh. He listened when they talked. In a quiet house that had long felt like a museum to their past, he brought a kind of life. Mabel even began referring to him as "our guest" when speaking to neighbors. But kindness, when too freely given, becomes a tool in the hands of the wrong person. Soon little things began to disappear. Mabel's mother-of-pearl brooch. Harold's cufflinks. Groceries vanished faster than usual. Ted always had an explanation. He borrowed the brooch to photograph it for an online project. The cufflinks must have rolled under the dresser. Harold started to grow suspicious. He found the brooch in Ted's duffel bag one afternoon, alongside a bundle of gift cards and what looked like Mabel's checkbook. Mabel wanted to believe the best. "He's just confused, Harold. Young people, they don't understand boundaries." But Harold knew better. He had seen enough students try to charm their way out of consequences. One evening after supper, Harold asked Ted to join him on the porch. "You've been here nearly 2 months, Harold said gently, his hands wrapped around a mug of tea. "Don't you think it's time to move on?" Ted didn't blink. "You guys have been like family. I've never had that. I thought maybe I could stay longer, help out more." Harold studied him carefully. "We've helped you, Ted. But helping shouldn't mean enabling." Ted's smile twitched. "You think I've taken advantage of you?" Harold didn't answer. He simply stood up and walked inside. That night, Ted went quiet. The next morning, Mabel's tablet and a set of silverware were gone. Along with Ted.so, they thought. He returned 3 days later. Claimed he'd been mugged. Had nowhere else to go, but this time Harold had had enough. "You need to leave," he said calmly. "Today. Now." Ted's face darkened. The charm vanished, peeled back like old paint. "After everything I've done for you," he snapped. "You think anyone else would take care of 2 shriveled fossils like you?" Harold stood straighter than he had in years. "That's the last thing you'll say in our home." Mabel, silent until then, reached into her sweater pocket and produced a small black device. "I recorded that," she said. "Just in case. And I called Officer Denning before breakfast. He's outside." Ted turned. Sure enough, a police cruiser sat at the curb, quiet as snow. That he didn't argue after that. They didn't press charges. Harold didn't want the hassle and Mabel didn't want revenge. They simply wanted their peace back. Ted left, muttering curses, slamming the gate behind him. He never came back, not to apologize, not to steal, not even to scavenge. The house once again became quiet, but it wasn't the same silence. There was a new firmness in the Kirklands now. They still believed in kindness, but they also believed in limits. They installed locks. Said no a little more often. And whenever someone knocked on the door, Harold would peek through the curtain first. Because trust, they had learned, should be given freely, but never blindly.